This is a cup of sunrise, and we have got an amazing guest. Okay, so I got to tell you a little bit about this guest, Stada.
Okay.
When we had the Christian radio station, he sent one of the songs that they did. That's how I heard about them first. Sweet Crystal is the name of the band that we're going to be talking about today. And then Jody, about 2 weeks later, sends me a message. Hey, do you want Sweet Crystal on the program? I said, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have as our very special guest, and I am not talking short bus special. I mean, I'm talking an awesome guy, Andrew. That's the middle name, Mark Andrew Speck. I got everything right, I think, the second time. Andrew, how are we doing, buddy?
Yeah, call me Q. Everybody calls me Q because of how my
Q.
first name is spelled. So call me Q. I'm doing
Q,
great.
I like
no
that.
complaints.
Good. Q I can remember too, by the way.
There
So
you
I'm
go.
digging that. All right. So now, Mark, guys, we're going to be talking a little bit about Mark's experience. He's been in the music industry for a lot of years, a lot of different ends of the spectrum, which I love. Now, you're tagged as a Christian rock band. Is that right, or do you guys have another name for it?
You know what? That's as good a label as anything. We don't always go out and push ourselves as a Christian rock band because we play a lot of venues that are not Christian per se. So if we just come
Right.
out as a rock band and then we let the word of God hopefully speak through our music to the people that are listening, sometimes it's a surprise to them, but we've been doing this long enough now. When people come out to see us, I think they know the message they're going to get. How we deliver it, though, is pretty unique to the band. And God has kept us going for a lot of decades with no plans to stop anytime soon.
Okay, talking about a lot of decades. You guys got together back. When did you guys come together? Because this is really cool. I mean, we're talking Kiss genre. We're talking some of the classic rockers genre, and still together. And you guys follow right up in there, but on a different field, which is really cool. I mean, even Petra had a split there for a while. Now, you guys have been around since. When did you guys first come out together?
Well, we really came out as Sweet Crystal in 1974. And don't do the math. In 1974, we weren't a Christian band back then. Basically, we were young kids with stars in our eyes and spandex on our legs. And
Yes.
we played.
I love it.
Absolutely. Do you still wear the spandex, Mark?
No, none of us can fit in that anymore. Thank you. But if you go to like our YouTube site, if you go to the Sweet Crystal page on YouTube, you can see some classic videos back there from the live show and see just who we were and just how long our hair was.
Oh, I'm going to have to go check that out.
Absolutely. Okay, so now you started out as a secular band then,
Yes.
and then moving to a Christian band. So how long were you playing with in the secular music? And what was that? What's the story behind the change?
Well, we played for probably 5 to 6 years straight through as a secular band. And it wasn't until about 1978, 79, when I met the woman who was going to become my wife, Jan, that I actually became born again. And that was a trip in itself. She knew right from the start that I was meant for a higher purpose than what we did, but it took a little while for me to turn my life around and turn my life over to Christ. And some of the guys in the band at the time, it was a 5-piece, decided they didn't like that direction. But to their credit, my drummer Steve Weezer and my guitar player Bill Blatter were perfectly happy with going in a new direction. What happened is it turned out that I had a hole in one of my vocal cords. It was there from birth. I didn't know about it, but I would occasionally have problems singing live, doing the 5-6 nights a week, 5-6 sets a night. And it turned out I had a hole, a congenital cyst in one of my vocal cords. Went to a doctor when I was losing my voice quite a bit, and he went in and said, well, we can go in with some new treatment, a laser, and create a new edge for your vocal cord and, get rid of it. And I said, okay, let's do that. So I went in, had that done. 6 weeks after the surgery, I still couldn't talk. We had to hire like a lead singer just to do our things. And as it turned out, I went back in and said, well, how long before I can sing again? And the doctor, bless him, said, what do you mean sing? I go, well, I said I was the lead singer of a band. He goes, I thought you were the leader of a band, like a band leader. because he was an old
Oh.
gentleman. He goes, I never would have done that surgery if I knew you needed your vocal cords for that.
Oh,
So that brought myself and my wife to my knees, because I just said, Lord, what just happened here? I'm turning my life around, and all of a sudden I'm not singing. I'm not able to sing. Well, long story short, it took 6 months, 7 months of rehab to get it back in. And I won an award for singing with a contest out in Nashville the following year. And I've been doing it ever since. The main thing is I quit singing the AC/DC and the Queen and all the things that was, taking a toll on my life, as well as
those
my
high
voice.
notes.
And yeah. And so here I am, 40, 50 years later, still able to do what I'm doing, because I believe it's because I'm doing it for God.
Yes.
Here's what amazing, what the Lord laid on my heart when you were talking about that. What the devil, here it is, you're in the process of turning your life around and pulling in that relationship with Christ, and what Satan has meant to do to destroy, God brings it out in a victory. And through that, you've been still doing the gospel longer than you've been doing secular music.
That's a good, you know what? That's a very good observation. I hadn't thought of it in that way. You're right, because we became a Christian band then during the 80s. And even though the live music scene changed here in Detroit, I don't know about where you're at, but it definitely changed and went from live music to canned disco and that kind of music. But my guys stayed together. We built the studio. We started doing soundtracks and commercial things. And it wasn't until the 90s that we decided to come back out as a three-piece, the three of us, and there are videos on that on the YouTube channel as well. And we took a stance, and we've been doing it ever since. We haven't stopped, and God has been very good to us. We've gone through 13 bass players, so that's always been a revolving door around here. But our recent
That's
bass
funny.
player,
I'm sure
Marty,
that's a joke with
Marty
you guys.
Kukar. You know what? It's a Spinal Tap kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of watch it. But Marty's been with us now for almost 4 years, I believe. So I think we passed his audition. So I think we're pretty solid now as a four-piece.
Well, now we were talking earlier before this come in that you're needing a new shelf or a new house to put the awards, the accomplishments. 24 plus, you're up for awards now. You've overcome a lot of different things, the vocals, the different artists that comes through, which is a lot of the things that a lot of bands deal with coming through. But being bringing a Christian message, when somebody comes into your show, into a program you're doing, something we had talked about earlier is you will, in a secular venue, you even throw in a little bit of music to get their attention so you can bring that gospel message. Give us a little bit more information on that, because I really think that's a great idea personally, because it's almost a guerrilla warfare tactic, which I like. Because
it's a little tricky, tricky thing.
Well, there's sometimes, it's just like when we were going down the road and I heard the one song, being a big Motley Crue fan back in the day, man, my ears perked up because I'm like, oh, dude, Home Sweet Home. I believe written by Nikki Sixx.
He said, is that Sweet Crystal doing Home Sweet Home? I said, it absolutely is. Let's play that one.
So tell us about
Sure.
How long did it take to get that thought process in to say, hey, you know what? Let's get that jerker in there to get their attention.
And it's interesting that you bring that up, because we usually play Home Sweet Home during most of our shows, because it is a common denominator for a lot of the places that we play and for the crowds that come in. What we've discovered over the years is that we can take a relatively known song from a different genre and we crystallize it. We turn it into something that's unique to our performance and playing style. Home Sweet Home is a perfect example of that. If you listen to the beginning, it's actually a little snippet from The Wizard of Oz put in there just to get your attention. And we like playing the song because for us, the lyrics, if you listen to them, I know they wrote it about being on the road and getting back to their home. Right. Here, we look at it as living in this world and getting back to heaven, which is our eternal home. So that's how we feel about it. And by presenting it in a very powerful way, somebody that might not be open to a Christian message in live music might hear this song and go, wow, these guys are pretty good. I like what they're doing. Then the next song that comes up is going to be one of ours that we hope the Holy Spirit will use to get into their lives. The one thing we try to do with Sweet Crystal is make sure that as you leave one of our performances or even just listen to one of our songs, you come away feeling better about yourself, because everybody's going through something these days, everybody. And chances are somebody in my band has gone through that exact same situation you might be in. And so we offer songs of hope and light and inspiration that even though it might be a tough time, there is always an answer. And it's not our job to convict people. It's just our job to try to get them to open the door, and then the Holy Spirit does his thing. So that's kind of the mindset behind it. We try to include a cover song in every one of our releases. We've got a Bob Dylan tune in there, the call tune on the Seventh Heaven release, and we'll be working on number 8 coming up. So we'll see what comes out of that one.
I really love that message. I want to commend you for your comeback with the vocal cord issue. I mean, being a singer myself, I remember many, many, many years ago when the tongue piercing came out, phenomena came out. I went to the studio to get mine done, of course. And
you sounded good.
Well, no, I never got it done. The guy, because I have a really short tongue, and the guy said, well, we're going to have to pierce it really far in the back, and it's going to have to be sideways, and you're going to talk with a lisp. I said, no, I'm a singer. I can't do that. So that I even not having it done, just the idea of not being able to sing anymore for me was devastating in the idea itself. So I could only imagine how you felt. But hey, you're sounding great now.
Yeah, it was tough. Aren't you sweet? Thank you for saying something as nice as that. Yeah, I appreciate that. My voice has changed. I've got recordings of us from those days, and it was quite a few notes higher back then. So, but this is how I am, and so you just take what God gives you and use it to the best that you can.
Yes, amen.
Well, now, with you coming in from the 1970s, coming in all these different decades in the music, being long lasting, standing the test of time. When you go into a place to sing, do you find a lot of your audience around our age, or are you finding that you're starting to get some new, younger blood in there, if you will, as an audience base?
What's interesting, Joe, is that we play with a lot of different bands. Here in Detroit, most of the events are usually 4, 5, or 6 bands per night. You get 30 minutes on stage. It's tough. We've gotten very good at this, but we always like to open the show because my keyboard rig sometimes can take a bit of time to set up. So I don't mind being first because then I can get it out of the way. It's harder when we're in the middle of a night. But that being said, a lot of the bands are much younger than us, and we find that they draw crowds that are younger than us, and we go over just as well with that age group. And I think it's because of the dynamic performance that we put on, because we still love playing, even though we may be a bit older than a lot of the folks that are on the stage after us. We still love playing, and it comes through in a live performance. So I think that draws people in, and all of a sudden we're finding commonality with these younger bands and their crowds. If it's just a Sweet Crystal show, I would say it's 40s, 50s, and 60s that come out to see us because they know us. As a matter of fact, the reason we came back out maybe 12 years ago now, back into the live circuit, was because of a group here that did a veterans benefit, and we hadn't been out in live for about a decade. And the gentleman who put it together, a Vietnam veteran, remembered us from the 70s, and people in his organization wanted to know if we were still around, would we come out and do this veterans benefit? And we said, you know what, we will. So we came out and we started doing that. And ever since then, we've been working with Wounded Warrior Project, veterans organizations here in Michigan. And it really has given us a whole new focus on our music. If we can go somewhere and be of benefit to somebody else, that's why we play. That's why we show up. We don't go out to be, hey, it's Sweet Crystal, come out and become a fan. We go out because being there will hopefully raise awareness and support for that organization or that person in need. And that really has kept us humbled, but kept us going.
Now, guys, we do have a link. Joe, the link that we have on here is to their Seventh Heaven album. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's the release that came out last year.
Okay, now with this release, because they can go down to this link that we have on there and download that album. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Completely, free of charge.
free of charge. They can download that album. Is that the link? Jody's looking at me like deer in a headlight look. So I'm
trying to open the link that he sent.
Okay, we're working on that then.
But I do have the sweetcrystal.com www.
Okay, they got their website on there.
Yes, underneath his name. So anybody that is viewing this show,
they can go to sweetcrystal.com. We're going to be talking about the different ways to get to them, because I know we're big fans of Spotify, and we've been listening to music going way back that you have on Spotify, just kind of jamming out with it for the last couple of days. Now I want to come into Sweet Crystal. Now the name Sweet Crystal come in because I'm telling you, when I first got you or one of the members of the band had sent me an MP3 and of I believe the song By the Call, and so Sweet Crystal.
That was Let the Day Begin.
Yeah, Let the Day Begin.
Yes.
So with the name Sweet Crystal coming in from the 70s. Okay, I got to know what was the basis of Sweet Crystal?
Yeah, have you always been called Sweet Crystal from the beginning?
Yes, we started out just that name, and I used to have a bow constrictor from college named Crystal, and that was the whole reason. We were just looking for a name, and we picked that name for no other reason. That being said, once I became born again, and we started doing some research, we discovered passages in the book of Revelation that talks about the sweet waters of life that flow out from underneath the throne of God, clear as crystal. And we just
I just read that last night. That's funny.
We just went, God knew ahead of time. God's in heaven talking to Jesus going, watch this. They'll get it.
Yeah.
Give them some time. They'll get it. That's awesome. So again, we're going back to what you guys instituted at the beginning. God created for a greater meaning.
Yeah, he must just get a kick out of it whenever we get it right,
Yeah, you're not going to tell me God doesn't have a sense of humor. You're just not going to tell me.
No, not at all. I would never say that.
So let's come up. You've got 7 albums out.
Yes.
And on this newest album, let's talk about this one as Jody is looking to get that link in. Because, guys, I'm going to tell you, it's a great album. If you now, when I say this out of total respect, okay, Q? If you're like your music nostalgia, if you're in our age, we're in our 50s, and the music to me is very nostalgic. I definitely get a Styx vibe from you, a lot of synthesizer, keyboard, which is fascinating, okay? And with that, I also want to say, because I know with my kids who are in their 20s now, they still listen to some of the stuff that I listen to. So they're back in the day. So they're listening to the same style of music. So this music really doesn't have an age limit on it. Would that be a fair statement for you in the band as well, Q, that you're reaching all ages because of your style?
I think that's a good way to define it. We consider ourselves arena rock, and we, of course, came up in an age where there were bands such as, like you said, Styx and Pink Floyd and Kansas and Journey, and we took the songwriting methodology of those years and apply it to our music. So I think that's
You just named some
songs
of my
like
favorite
that.
bands.
Oh, great. Well, songs like that can hopefully stand the test of time. Like you said, people are still listening to Stairway to Heaven, which is early 70s. Whereas you're going to be hard pressed to find anyone who can tell you what the song of the year was 2 years ago, in popular music. So we hope that we've taken that sensibility and made it our own. We don't really sound like anybody, but there are definite influences in who we are because of the bands that we grew up listening to. My vocal style, I've had a lot of people tell me that I remind them of Meatloaf. And I don't know if they're being kind or being sarcastic, but I don't mind that at all, because he was
he sings great.
Meatloaf was amazing. I'm telling you. Okay, so and I totally agree. Listening to the music, you do have your own style, and you can hear those influences. Because I know when I was listening to him, I mean, not the song that you did a remake with The Call, By the Call. I even had some Neil Diamond sound in there because I'm a personal big fan of Neil Diamond, and so when you were going through it, I was going, man, I had the song Neil Diamond America going through my head.
Good point. Yeah. All right. I'll take it.
There you go. Absolutely. When you can be compared to those guys, this is a good deal. And now here's what I do like. Also with yours, you do not sound, and I'm saying this totally as a compliment because I hate cookie cutter artists. Okay, you're not that guy. You're not that band. The music today in Christian, whatever it may be, is a cookie cutting style. You're not there. So, guys, if you're looking for a different sound, if you're looking for something that's original, the Sweet Crystal is the one you want to look for. The album,
well, and if that Seventh Heaven link doesn't happen to show up correctly on your page, just have them reach anybody. You can just reach out to me on Facebook. You can find me, Mark Andrew Speck, or at Sweet Crystal, and just let me know, and we will personally message them back the link. It's a zipped file of all the songs and some information from the Seventh Heaven release, which we're more than happy to give out. And the reason we're giving it out, besides the fact we like to give stuff out, is it's up for a Detroit Music Award this year for Outstanding Gospel Christian Recording. So the more people that can hear it, the more chances are we feel that we might make it to the next level of the competition. Not that we do this for competition, but we just feel that this is one way God gets our name and his message out, is by these type of things.
It's those accolades that, when somebody's got 24, 25 awards, Gary S. Paxton, who did
Monster Mash.
Okay, he had 3 Grammys. Okay, and his walls are plastered in his house with accolades. But you know what he used the Grammys for? Doorstops. Okay. Okay, so you've got this guy. He had a movie score Grammy and a couple of, but he used them for doorstops. The accolades are great. It's just so you can go out and reach more people.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to look at it.
Like Gary S. Paxton was a doorstop to him. He made, millions of dollars in it, but he lived a very simple life. So when you guys are coming in, yes, we've got all these great awards and we talk about these things. You're going all the way from California to Detroit, which is some great music. The Temptations, Skillet is out of Detroit from 1996. You've got the Supremes. You've got a long list of history music where you're at, which is, I think, absolutely phenomenal. So when you guys do these 4 or 5 shows, 30 minutes, there's got to be so much different types of music that you get to see and hear coming out of Detroit. And I think that carries over into your music today. Would you kind of say that has an effect on your music?
I would say yes. I would say because of the rich history of Detroit music, exactly what you talked about, Motown. And as a matter of fact, on the Seventh Heaven release, if you go to the very end of that release, there's a song in there from 1968 called Checkmate by a band that was out of Detroit back then called the SRC. Yes. We were involved with a project by a local producer who wanted to put out an entire CD of songs from 1968 from all the bands, Stooges, MC5, SRC, Bob Seger System, with current bands. And that was the song we got to pick because, once again, we have a keyboard player and that was a big keyboard song. But that shows you just the influence that Detroit had even back in the day in the 60s. It was a huge music scene. That whole CD never came out, but the producer was nice enough to allow us to include it on the Seventh Heaven. So if you go and listen to that, it's just a hoot. We love playing that song because we were all really young kids when that came out, and here we are some 60 years later playing that song.
Look out, watch the years now.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
So let's talk about the album that you have now, Seventh Heaven, 7th album. It's okay. So the 7th album, 7th song, 7th Heaven. You've got your 777 in there. Love that. Okay. So now, what was your pick on how to get your songs on there? What the certain songs that you have on there from when we start on the other side of Calvary? One of my favorites on that album. Your first 2, I fell in love with the album. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. The first 2 are definitely my top picks.
I like Let the Day Begin. That's my favorite.
That's sweet. I love that tune. I love that tune.
It's great.
we would play a couple songs from the call back in our bar days. What is it? I Still Believe. I'll think of what the other call song was that we used to do, but I remember them from our bar band days. And then when we were working on Seventh, we were talking about what's cover tune to do, and I just remember that song, and I pulled it up to the guys. I said, "This is the song," and we listened to it, and it had a lot of slide guitar in it. And I go, "Well, but I have a different idea for it." And God bless the guys in my band. They let me take the reins on almost all of our songs. I write the majority of them, but I write them around Billy's guitar playing because he is just one of the more dynamic guitar players I've ever known.
Yeah, he's a
So whenever
phenomenal
I
guitar
write a
player.
song, he is really good. So I always write songs with him in mind for all the leads. If you listen to a lot of our songs, there's not a ton of keyboard leads. It's lots of background and production and sounds, and I fill in a lot of gaps, but I don't focus on my playing for the focal point of the song. It's of course the lyrics first, but it's always Billy's guitar playing that I have shine, and across the board. I've done that since day one. I still do that, even with the new things we're writing for 8, which is coming up.
When will that album be released? Do you know yet?
No, we're going to do a couple singles this year. I hope to finish it. It can sometimes be a very slow process, but 6 and 7 came out within 2 years of each other, which was nice. We've gotten 5 of the songs ready, but we need 8, of course.
I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah, what's fun about this CD, if you think about it, we've got the logo for the front already. If you think of the what a CD cover looks like, think of the name Sweet Crystal going up the side and an infinity, a crystal infinity there.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you turn it this way, so the name's on top, it's an 8. So that's the next.
That's right.
That's the next one. It's going to be Sweet Crystal 8, but it's just kind of the graphics will go, oh, look at this. So it'll be fun. So we need 8 songs. We've got hours and hours. We record everything we do over here. We have live jam sessions with the band almost every week. I have stacks of CDs going back to the 80s. And just to go and try to find cohesive ideas that fit together to become a song, because some of the jams are 20 minutes on the same lick over and over till you get sick of it.
Sure.
But you just try to put together, this goes with this goes with this. So it's an interesting process, but what else have we got to do? God still has us here. We love each other. We just keep working on things until he calls us home.
So how did you pick on the 7 songs for your new album that you've got out? How did you pick those songs? Were all these, were the majority of these songs written? I know you said you read a lot of them. How were these particular songs written? Because you've been doing this for a lot of years, so I'm sure there's a stockpile of music you've got somewhere in a drawer somewhere.
Well, this CD is a little different. And if you get to Soldiers of the Crown, that was a song we wrote and released on the 3 CD. No, let's think. It was on Still Standing. It was on Still Standing, which was the 2nd CD. So we wrote that at the turn of the century, which sounds amazing. You say that. So we wrote that a long time ago, but we've updated it like we do with a lot of our older songs for the live show. We updated it and I think made it much more dynamic. So that was one we just had to include. There's a song on there called Heaven's Call, which was written for a friend of ours who passed right at the beginning of the pandemic. He was alive and well and a huge supporter of the band on Friday night, and he was dead on Sunday. And it just knocked the wind out of us. And I wrote that song, Heaven's Call, in the space of 20 minutes. I've never written a song that fast. I was so devastated. I went upstairs and my wife bought me a baby grand piano for a landmark birthday of mine. And I just plinked out that song and it was done. The lyrics came a little later and we worked with some good friends of ours, David Winans of the Winans family. I play keyboards for him. And Peggy Turner-Carr, who's also a multi-award winner here in Detroit for the vocalist. We put that together. That had to go on there. The song right after that was written by a very good friend of ours. His name is David Perez. He's also a singer-songwriter. And that was Angel My Love. And he released that on an album years ago that I played keyboards on it. And we decided to do a rock version just for him because he was struggling at the time. And I said, let's do something to lift Davey up. So we put that song together and put it out to give him an inspiration to let him keep going. And then, of course, Checkmate we needed a 7th song, and we came across that. And I said, whoa, what if we just put this on there? No, nobody's going to know what it is, but it's a hoot. So it just ended up there. So that's, I don't know if there's rhyme or reason. I'm hoping that it's an inspired bunch of songs and the God's going, this is how you want to do it. But I have no idea. I'm just glad that you like it. That's praise to me. That's all I need to know. Somebody likes it.
All the way from the 1960s to up to today, covering so many facets of music, so many different aspects of it. I think is absolutely phenomenal. Like I say, guys, this is not going to be an album that is your typical cookie cutter. The musicians are not cookie cutter as well, which I absolutely love. Going back into all the albums. Okay, so now on this album here. Now, did you just make sure I got understood right? Seventh Heaven song is just now released?
No, it was the Seventh Heaven was last year's release, and that's why it's up for the 2023 Detroit Music Award. It came out in 2022, so that's when Seventh Heaven came out. We released a few of the songs as singles before it all got compiled.
Okay,
so
that's
how that came across.
Okay.
So I have a question for you. When you're at home just hanging out by yourself and you want to listen to some music, who do you typically throw on?
That's a good question. Who's your influence?
Boy, that is a good question. One of my favorite songwriter is a man by the name of Neil Morse, who does tons of music. He started out with Spock's Beard many, many years ago, and now he releases an album probably twice a year, and he is a huge inspiration to both my singing and writing style. So if you look up Neil Morse and just see his entire catalog with bands like Transatlantic, and I can't even name all the different versions. He's a Nashville artist now, but he is just an amazing writer. I listen to a lot of his music. But then again, I listen to a lot of different songs. I have CDs all over this place of local bands. I support a lot of our local musicians here in Detroit because there are a ton of people. And I will always buy a CD because that's the only way they're going to get any bucks out of these things. So I have so many CDs that, you just play them once in a while, but at least I feel like I've supported them. I do. So I listen to that. I listen to a lot of instrumental music. I'll listen to anybody from Dream Theater just to humble myself when I hear how they play, just kind of listen to these guys,
Are these guys even human?
Yeah, I know. I listen to the keyboard parts and just kind of go, yeah, all right, I get it. Kind of walk away.
Okay, show off.
Really. But, it keeps you humble, but it also keeps you inspired. I just kind of go, these guys are great.
Yes.
The one thing about Dream Theater, though, it's hard to remember a song, until I play it again.
Yes.
It's not like it's catchy like some things. But you talked about contemporary praise and worship, and I totally agree. My wife and I visit different churches. We attend a couple regularly, but we like to also go and support other ministries and people that we meet. And I am a little amazed that the same songs are played in so many of the different churches. It's a comfort factor because at least, if you're going to sing along, you've heard it before and you're not going to make a mistake. But that was interesting to me to see that even though different denominations, it was still,
I have a problem
this
with
song
that.
is
Joe wants me to do those typical hymns, and I'm more of a contemporary singer, so I just kind of always do my own thing.
In other words, she doesn't listen to me.
No, I don't. He's waiting for me to bust out the old hymnals, but I'm not yet ready to do that.
But it's nice. Take an old hymn and make it your own. If I could find a hymn that would work for Sweet Crystal, I would not have a problem with that. As long as we presented it in our style. So that's intriguing to me. I'll be very curious to see if you had any ideas for hymns that you think would benefit from being crystallized.
Well, Brian Duncan
really
took a Paul McCartney song and mixed it with an Amazing Grace, and I really like the way he did that.
He did do that.
I really like the way he did that.
So now, when you say crystallize, give me your definition, because you've used that a lot, and I know with being Sweet Crystal from the beginning, when you're saying crystallize, give me your definition. What's the direction that you go when you crystallize a song?
Well, we take the original song and turn it into something that sounds like we would have written it. As a matter of fact, I've got two songs that I'm playing with right now, Taking It to the Streets, the Doobie Brothers, and You're Simply the Best by Tina Turner. And I started working with those over the last couple of days, turning them into more of a metal song. and using the guitars as the main focus. But so I'll take that idea and say, how do we turn this into? You listen to their arrangement and you dismantle it,
Making it your
but
own.
you keep the parts. You keep the parts, the chord structure, and the elements that people realize. But then all of a sudden, you add this arsenal behind me to the background and let Bill do his chops. And all of a sudden, you go, I know this song, until all of a sudden the lyrics come in, and all of a sudden you go, I don't know what this song is. So that's what it is. We take it and we make sure that we're comfortable with it, that it feels good to us. The thing about Sweet Crystal is we've been together so long, we know each other pretty much inside and out musically. And even when we
Yes.
make mistakes, we all make it at the same time. So it sounds like it's part of the song.
Right.
But it's if it doesn't amuse us, if it doesn't entertain us, if it doesn't lift us up, then eventually it just kind of gets put off to the side, and we look for something else, because not everything is work. One of the coolest songs we ever played when we started out was "Court of the Crimson King" by King Crimson, and you got to go way back to even know what that song is.
Yes, another
used-
group of phenomenal
Yeah.
musicians.
So we used to play that live, and my wife still asks me to this day is, why don't you guys bring that one back up? And I think about it, but it's such a long song. In a 30-minute set, there's one song where we go, all right, now we got time for two more. Now what? So that's the downside for big progressive epics like that. When you're only given so much time, when we're headlining and we have an hour to play, then we can bring out a lot more of our catalog,
Right.
which is thrilling to us. I love playing our music, but the 30-minute
So at
sets
any
that
gi-
we do. Yeah.
So we got a question for you. We got about 3 minutes on this.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to 8:45. Oh,
Woohoo!
Your text. I'm not reading them.
I know.
So,
Okay, so
we got extended 5 minutes.
awesome.
Nice.
All right, go ahead with your question.
So
and
my
then
question
I'll
is, at
finish.
any given night, I'm sure it's probably changed over the years, but say within the last few gigs you've done, what is the song that you most look forward to playing?
I would say Warriors. And Warriors is on an earlier, the 3 CD plus the Got Your Six re-release. Warriors is our ode to the men and women of the armed forces and their family members who stay behind while their loved ones go into the gap to stand for the rest of us. You don't have to support any war, but we have to support our warriors. And it was really that song we finished for that first veterans benefit that we played some 12 years ago. It had been sitting on the shelf, and we said, you know what, let's finish this song for this event. And we've been playing it ever since. And Billy plays just an amazing solo in it right in the middle. But it just means so much to us. There are veterans in every crowd that we play for, and we always ask
Yes.
for them to recognize, and we tell them this is for them. So that song will bring a tear to people's eyes, and it'll, as you can tell from my voice, it brings a tear to me. That's a song that means the world to us. Thank you for asking.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for doing that. Okay, so I see you've got some keys behind you, and I'm going to assume, since we didn't talk about this earlier, but maybe and hopefully you've got something you could play to where the listeners could hear what you got.
No. Had I known that, I would have got something, because
I don't say nothing up, so I see the keyboard.
I don't know if you can hear that.
Nope. Well, bummer. So, guys, the only way that you're going to be able to get that, and I'm going to tell you what, it's going to be well worth the trip, is Q. Tell them where they can get your music and where to find you, where they can like you, and where they can follow you.
I appreciate that. The easiest thing, of course, is sweetcrystal.com. You go there, you can get links to the Facebook, if you do a Google search for the band, Sweet Crystal, the band, you will get 6 or 7 pages of hits on us because we have a history. But it's real simple. You go to Sweet Crystal Band on Facebook, but basically go to the main website. Right off the top, you can sign up for the email blast, and we'll keep you right in the loop of who we are and what we're doing. If you want that download code and you can't find it online, just message us. We'll be glad to get it. We're very responsive. We'll be glad to get you out whatever you need from us.
I need a T-shirt.
I need a T-shirt.
All right.
Everybody's doing T-shirts. Where they can get your merch, because you've got some cool T-shirts. Okay.
Yeah.
So
The merch is up there on Sweet Crystal. Yeah. You can either go to bandcamp.sweetcrystal.com or there's a merch page on sweetcrystal.com. So any of those places will take you right to what you need to how to contact and anything that we might have that you need.
All right. So,
Awesome.
so one question I do want to ask, and I ask this to a lot of bands, a lot of artists. 2020 come out, and I know it was shut down a lot of music opportunities when the nation shut down. But it looks like you guys spent a lot of time in studio. Is that correct?
We did, and we even got to broadcast a couple of live events from right here at Crystal Quarters. One of the awards we got from the academia people out in LA was for a live performance video. We did an actual 30-minute live show during the pandemic. That's when we did record a lot and release the 45s just to keep people aware of us. And once we got okay to get back out, we got back out. One of the things I'm doing now is a lot more solo but never alone appearances. It's just me, one keyboard, going to a lot of coffee houses and open mics just to keep the music and message of Sweet Crystal going for nights and places that the whole band can't make it to. So that has opened, for the last 2 years, that's opened up a lot of opportunities for me just to get our music out. So it's interesting to be on your own. You don't have anybody else to blame for a mistake. When it's just you and a keyboard, just kind of look around going, this didn't work.
What happened?
It's a lot of
had
fun.
one of those yesterday. Yeah, I watched that. I watched that award ceremony on the way to the studio this morning. And like you said earlier, there is a huge difference in the dynamics of listening to an album or a recording as opposed to a live show. You guys were rocking out.
My goodness, yes.
Yeah, I really got into the live watching that performance on the way here this morning. That was phenomenal.
And she has been banned from doing that again because I kept wanting to watch.
Yeah.
And I was driving.
Nice. Well, I was hoping she wasn't driving while doing that.
No, that wasn't me.
That would ban her. Yes.
I just kept doing one of these.
Oh, gosh.
So
Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
We definitely appreciate your music, and I appreciate you coming on to our program. And do you have anything coming up right now they can find on your website as far as shows coming, that kind of thing? If you got coming up, Q, whether it's a solo or whether it's the whole band?
I've got, I posted this event today, so I got that out there. Hopefully people will be able to find this podcast. Wednesday night, I'm doing an open mic out in Howell, Michigan. Friday night, I'm doing a Waterford Eagles appearance, an open mic. I also play with a band called Secondhand Mojo, which is more of a classic Midwestern rock band. We've got a couple of headlining events coming up in the next week. I play with David Winans Pie. He's got some events coming up. So really, if you get to the Sweet Crystal page and go to the Solo Q page, which is my personal page up there, you can see all the events I'm doing. But basically go to sweetcrystal.com. As new shows come in, it'll be listed right at the top of that first page.
Awesome.
I love to hear that you're keeping so busy. No,
Absolutely.
Yeah, nothing in the slowing down area coming up for you. I love to hear that.
I'm scoring a cartoon.
Really?
I'm scoring a cartoon. I'm waiting for the final file so I can start doing this. And I'm going, what? What am I doing? And so it's 5-minute animation. That's a very positive cartoon. It's a life lesson for kids, and they're giving me carte blanche on what kind of music to put into it. And I just kind of go,
nice.
Wow, how interesting. So in my off hours. Yes.
Yeah. What are those?
Okay, so right now we need to get you down here into this area, into the Branson.
I'd love that.
Area. So anybody out there, you got a church, you got a venue, we need you to contact Q. Go to his website, sweetcrystal.com, and let's bring him down here, because that way we can have him back in here, but actually in studio.
Yes,
that would be cool. That would be cool.
I would love to, and we would love doing that. My wife and I can travel pretty much at a moment's notice. The rest of the band has to work it out. But my brother lives in Springfield down there, so I would come down just to visit him too.
Well, bring it on down, Q. What are you waiting for?
Brother, put him to work. Put your other brother to work.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going to get out of here. Q, thank you.
All right. God bless you.
God bless
you as well.
Guys, don't forget sweetcrystal.com. Go over there, check it out. We are out of here. Be back Wednesday morning with a very special